Hello everyone, going to go live in 5 minutes, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Just give time for a few more people to get in here. Going live in 2 minutes, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Live in 1 minute, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. There you are, Muhammad. I tried to message you on YouTube. Send me an email. All right, let's get going. So, exciting morning. A lot of fear out there, a lot of uncertainty, which fear is the strongest emotion in this market. Euphoria does not match fear, which is why when we're in breakout mode, we stair step on the way up and then see elevators on the way down. In my opinion, this was a coordinated attack. It was a bear attack, and I'll go into my reasons why. In my opinion, with the market, this has always been my opinion with the stock market, news is never random. It's always timed at a certain point for a certain reason when it's released. So in the crypto space, this is no different. And if you've been following the video yesterday and also the charts I posted this morning, I posted them in the chat room and in the trading and on TradingView. The 4-hour time frame was at a flex point. We were in our equilibrium pattern and we were extremely tight, and we knew a break was coming today. We knew it without a doubt because you can't get any tighter. So here on the Bitcoin 4-hour time frame, we had our all-time high, the low of the bottom, higher or the lower high on the bounce, higher low, lower high, straight across, and then we got extremely tight. And we were right at a really tight point when we had the dump on the bear news. And we can look at all 4 of these names. Ethereum on the 4-hour time frame, high, low, lower high, higher low, straight across tight. And Litecoin was roughly the same, high, low, lower high, higher low, lower high, extremely tight, clear dump. So the benefits of releasing either bullish or bearish news when you are at a flex point where you're so tight is that all of the traders are watching the same levels. Everybody is looking for a break of the higher lows or the lower highs. So if you release bad news, let's say in this example, you get not only all the traders that have their stop losses here at 45.74, that's the trigger point, which starts market sell orders, and then you have bears dumping, millions of dollars into the market, which is only magnifying it and just being a complete dump. So having the news line up with the technical indicators at a key point on the chart is definitely the scenario that we find here, in my opinion. Now, as this was playing out and as the dump started, I figured, okay, this is just a normal dump because we broke key support. So we're going to see the clear break of the tightening range favor the bears, and we're going to see stop losses trigger, and we're going to get oversold, and we're going to see an oversold bounce. So that was my mindset going into it. And then at about 10 o'clock, here's the chat room where I said, okay, this is more than just regular action here. Make sure and be scanning for any news. This is certainly not normal action. So then we had, shout out to member Alamantas, who posted this very nice, concise what happened post here. So there was a rumor that China was going to ban Bitcoin or Bitcoin exchanges. The rumor was started here. Provided a nice link. This is just pretty much the post of the day right here. So definitely big props to Almantas. But then we've got, so the news catches on and fear spreads and the markets dump at a key flex point in the chart, and all these stop losses change. They both come in on the PR. Their PR team says, we haven't heard anything about this. We're still operating. This is a rumor as far as we know. They didn't say the word rumor, but that's pretty much what they're implying. And then we have this reporter here in China saying, OK Coin and the other exchange PR said they haven't received such notices and are still in operation now. So then that's when it started coming out saying, okay, something's up. This looks like a rumor. This looks like an attack, an orchestrated bearish attack to flush a lot of positions, trigger a lot of stop orders, and then buy back in and see the bounce play out. So once we realized that this was news, and once it started coming to light that it was likely baseless news, that told me, okay, don't sell down here. And I was in a position, I entered too early. So the scenario, I'll go into each individual name individually in just a minute. But the scenario for me, I was playing Ethereum because it got oversold the quickest. And I was looking to play this bounce right here. This big green candlestick is when I made my entry scaling in. My average was about 313 or 314. And that's because the 5-minute RSI was plenty low enough for me. The 15-minute RSI at that point was oversold, and the hourly RSI was just getting oversold as well. So then once that bounce did not materialize and it continued dumping, I will never sell when we have the 5-minute, the 15-minute, and the hourly RSI all oversold, unless it is devastating true news. If we were to get, some very significant bearish news, then I would think to sell in oversold conditions. But knowing that it was a rumor at that point, I said, okay, I'm not putting a stop loss down here. I'm going to be very patient with this trade, and I know worst case scenario, I'm going to get back to break even. And that's what ended up happening. I actually exited a little bit sooner on this bounce here just to make sure that I was out before any kind of disaster. I ended up with a $3 loss. So that's the kind of loss that I can absolutely easily recover on any bullish trade. But it was just a scenario where, okay, I realized I made a bad entry. I'm not going to panic and sell into fear because I know that this news is baseless and I know it's rumors. And that tells me the psychology of what's going on is it was a bear attack, and these bears know that it's going to come out that it was a rumor. So they're going to cover their shorts and they're going to buy back in on that bounce. So that's what I was looking for to happen, and I was able to exit with a very small loss that I can easily recover, and I did actually just flip Litecoin really quickly to recover those losses once Litecoin broke 77. And want to see where Litecoin's at right now. So once Litecoin broke 77, I was confident that we were going to break 77.45 and flipped it here just on a little 75-cent move to the upside just to be in the green on the day because I made a mistake. I made a mistake in the sense that I did not know the news. It's a lesson to me to be more, scanning on Twitter and finding out what the news is because this was a really great buy opportunity. A lot of members were more patient and did get some really nice bounces and some profit from them. But for me, I entered too early. I exited with a very small loss. Now I have a small green day, and I'm fine with that. But it's just a lesson for me. It's a missed opportunity. I'm fine with that. There's going to be plenty more opportunities. But now I know that I need to pay more attention to the news because there will be times when the news comes out that the indicators do not work the way that we are used to. And that's how I knew it was news before hearing any news because these indicators were getting more oversold than we have seen any time recently. So that told me, okay, this is a news event. Time to start finding out what that news is. And of course, that was a little bit too late in terms of entering my position, but it all worked out because we did not succumb to fear and we did not bail knowing that it was a rumor. And even if it was a rumor or wasn't a rumor, I still probably wouldn't bail because, some exchanges closing in China, sure, it would be a setback, but it's not going to be, the end of cryptocurrency. So fear, this was a ton of fear and a huge drop. And if you were in any positions, ideally you would have been stopped out on the way down. So the stop out levels for Bitcoin on this 4-hour time frame was 45.74. And that would have stopped you out and had you be all cash and you had plenty of opportunity to buy back in cheaper at any point. And we've gotten to the point now on this bounce where pretty much any poor oversold entry that you made, you're likely going to be able to get back break even at the least. So we can see the bounce here on Bitcoin. Once the bottom was in, and we couldn't be sure when the bottom was in because, again, the technical indicators weren't really helping us. Once we saw this bounce here with some increasing bull volume, this told me, okay, time to start looking for a higher low because the bulls had a significant bounce. This is the most significant bounce we have seen on this dump. It's the first time we've seen 2 green candlesticks in a row, and we saw 3 green candlesticks in a row with a lot of power behind it. So then we knew to be looking for our equilibrium pattern, our good old friend, which pulled back. There's our higher low. And here I said, okay, we need to be very cautious here because if we break this higher low that we just tried to establish, we're going to head back down to the lows, and that's going to be a big red flag. That's going to show us the bulls don't have any momentum. Fortunately, the bulls stepped in and held that level, formed another little higher low, and then right here is where we became really confident that the bulls had momentum on this bounce because we had our higher low and higher high. So we didn't even really form too much of an equilibrium in terms of higher low, lower highs, tightening range, because the bulls were able to, on this increasing volume here, 20 minutes, a really nice increasing bull volume, headed to a higher high, and we're still keeping up this higher low and higher high pattern. So the most recent support is 44.38. The bulls really want to hold that level to keep the bulls in full control of this higher low and higher high. But what I do now is I shift out to a different time frame and I look at the 15-minute chart and I say, okay, we haven't really established a ton of consolidation on the 15-minute chart. We did build a base there. I'll look at the hourly and say, okay, we're likely going to form an hourly equilibrium pattern where we see a bounce play out. We top out somewhere, hard to determine where that's going to be, but once we lose the 5-minute higher low pattern, that will be an indication that our hourly bounce might be at our top. Then we'll look to pull back and form a higher low on the hourly. So we will be looking for an hourly equilibrium pattern to begin playing out, but this bounce is not done yet because the 5-minute pattern is still a higher low and a higher high. The correlation right now between Ethereum and Litecoin is stronger between these two than it is with Bitcoin. Of course, we're always watching Bitcoin as a gauge of the overall cryptocurrency space, but these two are stronger, and you can see that on the 5-minute time frame because they broke to higher highs before Bitcoin did. So Ethereum had its bounce play out, significant 15-minute move. Upper wicks of profit taking tell us that we're likely going to need to consolidate and form a higher low. We pull back, form the higher low. Here it became a little scary. We might break that higher low, but the bulls bought the dip. There's our bull break once we got over 315.90. Very convincing that the bulls had momentum. Just tried to build a support right now at 316. We'll see if that can hold. The high of the bounce is 322.17 that the bulls want to break. If we break 316 and break the 5-minute higher low, then that's going to be a bit more convincing that maybe this hourly time frame, which is now no longer oversold, maybe we've reached our top of this bounce and we're going to have to pull back and form a higher low on the hourly time frame. And I'm going to be monitoring Litecoin because Litecoin bounces have been more significant than the Ethereum bounces, and just playing around with some orders right now in my GDAX on my other screen, but watching, so the higher low pattern on the 5-minute time frame and knowing to anticipate that a lower high is going to form on the hourly is keeping us cautious. And ideally locking in, depending on how actively you want to trade this, but locking in any short-term gains on the oversold bounce and then scouting out for a potential higher low on the hourly for another re-entry. That being said, if you are still in an oversold bounce position, no need to lock it in until we lose the 5-minute higher low pattern. So Litecoin doing the same thing. The Litecoin bounce has been really significant, and I haven't calculated the percentages in terms of who's bounced the strongest, but just visually, I would say it goes Litecoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin in terms of the percentage gains on this bounce. So the same thing, Litecoin, big bull move here. So looking to break or looking to form a higher low after such a significant bull move. There's our higher low. We got our higher high by breaking 77.45. And now we are consolidating. Support right now is down at 76.72, seeing a little bit of bear pressure, and I will be looking for a potential re-entry here. Again, the hourly time frame looking like our top of the hourly bounce might be in here, and we'll look to pull back and form a higher low, and I'll be looking somewhere. Ideally, I'd like to get an entry in the $74 range. And again, I'm just looking at this visually. This is educated guesses by watching these charts and these patterns play out for years and years, and just knowing that an equilibrium pattern is most likely to occur, and for that to occur, we would likely pull back in the $74, $75 range. So I'm being patient on a re-entry, and again, I did just flip it. Once I saw that 77 was going to break, there was a wall of resistance there on GDAX, and we had inside bars on the 5-minute time frame, and as soon as we had the bull break of these inside bars and broke 70, and we broke, actually it was this move right here, we broke 77, that made my entry, we consolidated, and then once we got the bull break of these inside bars, that was my confidence that it would be a profitable trade, and was able to make back those losses plus a little bit extra. So now very patient, all cash, just waiting for a new entry opportunity, anticipating that the equilibrium pattern is going to be forming on this hourly time frame. Also watching the 4-hour time frame, because what is going to potentially occur now, and the daily as well, is an equilibrium on the daily. So let's look at all these daily charts. And again, the equilibrium pattern is just everywhere in the stock market, and it tells me that it's ingrained in human psychology. But what we have here on Bitcoin is our high, low of the pullback, lower high is the higher bounce. Now our higher low, we almost broke down here, but we held it. So our higher low has just been established. We have an equilibrium on the daily time frame. It's a bit more clear on these other names. Ethereum, high, low of the pullback, lower high. Now a higher low is the low of this dump. And same thing for Litecoin. High, low, lower high, higher low. So I am watching equilibrium patterns on the hourly for short-term trades. I'm watching equilibrium patterns on the daily for longer-term trades, and watching to see which direction we're going to break and which direction has momentum. This is definitely a setback for the bulls. It is recovering. I do not believe we're going to see a full recovery because we do still have bearish sentiment. Keep in mind that this bounce that has been playing out over the past 2-3 days is following a very bearish 3 days. So we could absolutely set a lower high and then a lower low and continue to pull back in the cryptocurrency space, which is why I'm being so cautious and always wanting to be cash after locking in profit, as I feel safest that way. So we have to keep in mind that we could be in for further downside on the daily chart over the next week, and we have to be patient in looking for any re-entries, because this higher low has to be established on the hourly time frame, in my opinion, to be confident. And that could take 2 to 3 hours for us to level out a little bit, settle down, pull back, form a higher low, and then we'll take it from there. But not rushing any entries. If I don't make another trade today, I'm perfectly fine with that, because I need this setup to play out. And then once this hourly pattern does tighten up, the break of this tightening hourly pattern will be a really clear trade, whereas right now, trades made within this tightening pattern that we're anticipating are not as clear as a break of the tightening pattern will be. So that's the same thing with, let's look at Bitcoin on the 4-hour, that tightening equilibrium pattern. The trades within here were not as clear as the break. When you get the break and the volume spike, and I was highlighting in the charts this morning, I annotated some charts and said watch for the volume spike, because it's just a consistent declining volume pattern, and you know that when the range breaks, there's going to be a volume spike associated with that. So playing the spikes, playing the breaks and the volume spikes from tightening ranges, breaking to a new range is a lot more confident and a lot easier than trying to play within the range. And you can see we went green, red, green, red, green, red in terms of the 4-hour candlesticks. Just a lot of back and forth, choppy, tightening action on low volume. So that's my spiel. Let's see some questions. I'm not going to stay live for too long here because I do want to still pay attention and potentially trade a bit more, but again, not forcing anything. I will be looking for a Litecoin re-entry here, and obviously looking at the order book. And right now I see the order book has more support than resistance. We got a wall at 76.40, but we always got to be watching for these walls to move because they do definitely bounce around and they can be misleading. Also been watching Golem. Golem had a nice breakout and then pullback. Golem very often pulls back after breakouts when there's no solid news behind it. I have no scheduled live. Well, I'm live every day for 2.5 hours, but it's mostly stock market coverage. But I was certainly commenting on the cryptocurrency dump as it was going on. I do that every day, 9:30 a.m. and 3:15 p.m. Eastern. But that's more stock market related. As far as cryptocurrency lives, I'm just going live spontaneously because it is a special occasion. So I'll look at a couple altcoins. We'll just do OMG. Let's do OMG, NEO, and GNT because those have had some of the most attention recently. And I always like to look at the cryptos with the US dollar basing. And I know a lot of people trade the Bitcoin pair, so they prefer to do it that way. And I absolutely suggest if you are trading the Bitcoin pair, look at the Bitcoin. But I always like the US dollar because it is a lot more stable. And I want my underlying to be stable rather than all over the place. Because the charts right now with Bitcoin dumping 10% in an hour, that's going to greatly affect the charts. Whereas OMG USD is going to be a lot more stable because the dollar is not seeing anywhere near that kind of volatility. So we did see a dump in the cryptos or in the alt space as well. I was watching the dump in Golem as it happened. So OMG on the daily time frame, this is occurring off of the all-time high. So our most recent low of consolidation is 733, and we're now looking for a higher low of anything above 733, and it's currently at 1036 as the bulls are trying to buy this overreaction and this oversold bounce. So we can see the hourly chart pulled back significantly, and this fear is definitely making the charts look a little bit screwy in terms of taking out all that kinds of key supports, but definitely seeing a bounce play out. I would be very cautious on any of these bounces. If you're looking long term and if you're looking months down the line, then this kind of fear is something that you want to buy into and hold through. But if you're looking short term, have to just be cautious that the bull momentum on the bounce doesn't run out on you and turn around. So here on the 15-minute time frame for OMG, we see the dump, we see the 5-minute RSI in the teens, and we see a higher low and higher high pattern. Let's see if it's more clear on the 5-minute, and it is a bit more clear. So the most recent higher low, I'd be looking down here at 1151 and 1142. These levels need to hold for the bulls to maintain higher lows on the 5-minute time frame. And then we have to be watching for those levels to hold. And if they break, we know the bears are taking back over. And this could be viewed as a bear flag. This is a potential bear flag pattern where you have a dump, and I'm just winging it on these lines. They're not going to be perfect, these trend lines, but it's a horizontal support and resistance channel, and you look for that after a dump as a potential bear flag before continuation to the downside. So I'm always cautious of bear flags after dumps when the pattern does look like this, especially if we see declining volume. That would be the same, another signal that would have me lead to believe. You can see the volume here. This bear volume compared to bull volume. This is not impressive bull volume at this point. So definitely cautious on these bounces. Let's see what NEO is doing. So NEO had a very strong bounce, but it was very short-lived. Made it all the way back for full recovery, but is now settling down a little bit. So the daily time frame for NEO had a bounce the other day. Try to play out. Looks like NEO was just added to this exchange. That's why I don't have data. Bitfinex. So NEO had the bounce play out, but it didn't break the lower high pattern on the daily time frame. It was a solid bounce. There were nice gains there. The bulls now have to form higher lows and higher highs to change this trend. So we have to form a higher low compared to 1524 and then break 3460 to see a higher low and a higher high and a change of this trend. Otherwise, it's just a clear, slow, and steady downtrend, keeping the bears in control. And there's our downtrend resistance line, and we rejected right from it at the high of that last bounce attempt. So the bulls are trying to prove themselves with some solid volume, but they haven't done so yet. On this bounce attempt right now, we have inside bars on the hourly time frame, multiple inside bars to be watching, which tell us the 15-minute time frame is getting tighter and tighter. Equilibrium pattern, our low of the dump, high of the bounce, higher low, and now just straight across trading as volume drops off. Watch for the volume spike to indicate the tight range breaking, and the direction that it's going to break in will be signaled by the volume as well. Last one, we'll look at Golem here. You want to be using GDAX, in my opinion, as one of the better exchanges, certainly over Coinbase. Coinbase has way bigger fees. You want to be using GDAX over Coinbase, but it's going to limit you to only trading 3 pairs in terms of the big 3. GNT BTC, so trying to see a bounce play out, and I did add a position here down in the 8.3s. So here we have the profit taking from the news event, the conference, and significant profit taking. It should not be a surprise. If you've been watching Golem trade at any point in the last 2 months, this is a very common pattern where we see profit taking and a lot of reload opportunity. And if, for me, with my long position, even if I can just reload 2%, that's worth it. And I do occasionally flip it. I do my best to not. I do my best to leave it alone. But sometimes when we do see extenuating circumstances like really overbought conditions, I will look to flip it. But this daily time frame here for Golem is trying to change the trend, but we have to keep these higher lows and higher highs up. Resistance here was 11, 10.9, and now 11.1. So there's a very clear resistance right at 11 that the bulls are going to have to get over to see any kind of continuation. But with all that profit taking we saw, we have to pull back here and establish a higher low first. So one thing you'll notice, a lot of people that are newer to technical analysis, they want to know what's going to happen, where are we going? And you'll notice that I never give predictions in terms. Sometimes I'll give targets where if we break this level, we're looking to this target. But I'm never going to say this is where we're going to bottom, this is where we're going to top, because I don't know and I don't pretend to know. What I do with technical analysis is look at things that tilt the odds in my favor. So I know that on the 4-hour time frame for Bitcoin, that if we break this support and the higher low pattern of 45.73, that we're going to see a lot of we're going to see a bear break and the bears are going to take over. So I don't want to be in a position for the bulls if that's going to happen. So I don't know how far we're going to pull back. I don't know, if Bitcoin on the daily time frame, I don't know if we're going to break this low and see a lower high and a lower low in continuation of the pullback, or if the bulls are going to break this recent high. So my point is, I'm not trying to predict the future here. I'm taking the information as it comes to me and analyzing it in my head to give myself different scenarios in terms of what is most likely to happen. There are times when I'm wrong. When I'm wrong, I keep my losses small. There are times when I'm right, and I let those winners ride. And if you just consistently do that with the odds in your favor, it's just like counting cards in blackjack. When you're counting cards in blackjack, you don't know what the next card is going to be, but you know the odds of what the next card is going to be. So you are wrong a lot when you count cards in blackjack. You're just more right than you're wrong, and that adds up in the long term, time and time and time again. So in terms of predictions, where's Bitcoin going to bottom out this week? I have no idea, and I'm not going to try and pretend I have any idea. I'm going to take it one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, and process the information on the chart as it is given to us and make decisions based off of that. So here we are looking like we're losing our higher low pattern on the big 3. Looks like our bounce is running out of a bit of momentum. No big red flags yet because we don't have high bear volume. A little bit of increased bear volume here on Litecoin. I'm looking at Litecoin support at 73.48 right now. And I will be looking to potentially make an entry off of that level if we do keep pulling back here. So I believe that is it. Let me check if members have any questions. Members have any questions, go feel free to put it in Crypto General. Wait a moment to see if we have anything, and then after that, I will see you all tomorrow. Appreciate everybody's support on the course so far, getting a lot of good feedback. Anybody that wants to leave reviews, we would appreciate it. And motivation for further educational materials in the future. But I certainly need a break after that monster of a course. I will make note of bullish divergences at times, bullish and bearish divergences. I don't ever make a trade based off of that, but it'll be the kind of thing where if I'm formulating a trade and a scenario and then I see that, it will add to my confidence. So I didn't pick up on it on this one. Graham is saying he saw a bullish divergence on the 5-minute RSI with ETH. So a divergence just means a signal where, so here I assume this is what he means. We're on the 5-minute. The RSI was down here at the low of 4, and then we bounced, and then we dumped to lower lows, but the RSI formed a higher low and a higher high. So that could give a little confidence that the bulls were going to turn things around. But again, that wouldn't be enough for me to say, oh, we have a bullish divergence, I'm getting in. I would say something like, oh, I see the order book momentum turning, and there's a bullish divergence. That makes me more confident to get in. Looks like Litecoin is pulling back the most significantly from its high at this point. Checking the order book on GDAX. Bid support right now is in the upper 74s. So if I'm looking to scout an entry on Litecoin, I'm looking to do it where there's a key support where I know that I'm not going to have a big risk of a loss if the support breaks. That will be my exit signal. So I don't like an entry right now because we're at 75.60 and the support I would use is 73.48, and I don't want to risk a $2 move here. That's too significant of a loss for me. So I will be patient and wait to see if we get further pullback, and I'll also be watching Bitcoin to see what kind of correlation we have there. And if Bitcoin is continuing to show weakness, I know to be even more patient with Litecoin as well. So here we go, closer and closer. So a better trade for me, I'd love to get in the upper 73s and risk less than $1 before I would exit if we did break this support level. Reading volume on the fly, you can do a lot of estimating on volume. And when you do that, a lot of times I'll compare things. So if I'm looking on the 5-minute chart and I see that I'm looking for a volume climax or I'm looking for increased bull volume, I mean, reading the volume is easy when it's bull versus bear volume. You can see once this bounce started, the bear volume was very low and it was only one candlestick at a time, and the bull volume was increasing. So that's easy enough. But if you're looking to compare volume, and let's say the 5-minute candlestick is halfway finished and we have 75% of the total volume of the previous candlestick, I know we're going to see increased bull volume. So it's a little bit of on-the-fly math where I compare a volume candlestick to the previous volume candlestick. I look at how much time is left in that candlestick, and I can assume whether we're going to see increasing or decreasing volume based off of that. My stop loss on LTC will be formulated based off of this support level. So that was the higher low on our bounce. We saw our low, our high of the bounce, our higher low is right here at 73.48. So 73.48 is the key support for me. And if that breaks, we're looking right back down at our low of 71.11. So the bulls really need to hold that level. And the hourly high of the bounce, definitely since I started this broadcast, looks a lot more likely to be set now. And that was quick. That was not a very prolonged bounce, so we'd need to be cautious in this space. And the more the news spreads that it was a rumor, if indeed that is the case, then the more that will help with a potential re-entry opportunity playing off of these supports that were established on the original dump. But of course, if news were to come out that, oops, it wasn't a rumor and it is true, then obviously we're going to dump to lower lows. So we always need to be protective, and we always need to be level-headed and not succumbing to fear. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. I will be back with videos tomorrow. Appreciate all the support, and I hope you have a good rest of your day and a happy Friday. And that's all she wrote for now.